Dragon Fantasy Book 1 is more or less a homage and parody game of all the classic games you've loved so much, making nods left and right to early Dragon Warrior and Final Fantasy games. Originally developed for iOS and Android with an 8-bit engine, the game has been ported over to PS3 and Vita with bumped up visuals. Dragon Fantasy has 3 chapters, all of which feature different players with an intertwining story. Most of Dragon Fantasy is again much like the games it's been paying homage to. You have a world to explore where random battles can occur. Within the cities you'll be finding new missions and plot points. You'll also want to be visiting the merchants for items, armor, and weapons. Chapter 1 will follow Ogden's story, which is the longest one. Ogden is a retired dragon slayer who finds himself going back into work to save the kingdom. The Dark Lord is your target here, and he is bringing disorder to the world. In Ogden's story, you'll be the only party member, traveling most of the available game world. You'll be able to go through caves, oceans, and most of the land, hitting city after city reaching new plot points. Ogden's story should be played first, in order to get down the fundamentals of the game, and to better appreciate the other 2 chapters, but you could play whichever chapter you want first. Chapter 2 will have you playing as Anders, the Crown Prince of Wester City. Anders is looking for his little brother who was kidnapped from the Dark Knight. In Anders' story, you'll have multiple party members, making it the easiest. With it being the easiest, it's also the shortest. In Chapter 3 you'll be taking the role of Gerald. Gerald is a thief who is trying to come up with enough cash to get him and his niece out of Sandheim in order to better their lives. In this story you'll be exploring completely new environments not present in Chapter 1 and 2. You'll also have your niece alongside you in battle for a 2-party system. There's also a 4th chapter that's basically a little intermission including all characters from the main 3 chapters. This section is very short, but is actually a Minecraft homage, which includes lots of nods to the series and its creator. What makes Dragon Fantasy such an enjoyable experience is its simplicity and humor. This boils down to how the game is essentially a tribute to Dragon Warrior and Final Fantasy. It's easy to jump into, and it's something familiar. More so, it's gameplay we've loved in the past, and we love it just as much in the present. Grinding battles for leveling up, purchasing new equipment, exploring caves for chests, it speaks to our senses. What makes this a funny experience is the parody elements to Dragon Fantasy. Battles themselves are nothing but parodies. The enemy names and attacks are outright hilarious. Mrs. Rock and her "Do I look fat" attack never get old. But literally every battle is like this. Reading battle text has never been this enjoyable. Among other things, talking to NPCs will yield some pretty funny comments as well. What's really cool about this game is that it features a classic filter to relive the awesome 8-bit visuals and music. But not all is well with Dragon Fantasy. There's actually a good amount of noticeable bugs and issues. Sometimes the menu cursor disappears, sometimes your character movements get stuck, and sometimes the game crashes completely. One issue that gets really frustrating is the hit-to-miss ratio in battle. Your attacks are going to miss. A lot. Even with my accuracy at 95%, my attacks would still miss 1 and 2. Sometimes I would miss upwards to nearly 5 attacks in a row while the enemy just lays into me. As of right now, these issues are going to be addressed in an upcoming patch, but until then, they're here and it does show. Besides performance, there's also some other common annoyances, like a clear lack of transparency. Objectives aren't labeled, towns aren't labeled, and when you do try to warp to a new city, they give you the options, but you don't know which one's which. Someone will tell you to go south of some town, but you won't know where that is, and if you're even close to it. Then by the time you get there, you'll forget what you're even there for. Dragon Fantasy is a cross-buy and cross-save game for PS3 and Vita, and it sort of works. Cross-save as of right now has been known to cause a loss of progress, so for now, playing exclusively on one system may be the better choice. Dragon Fantasy Book 1 is a lot of fun. It's a super addictive RPG that speaks to RPG lovers directly, through nostalgia and humor. That's something you don't see very often. What muddles this experience is the vast array of bugs and annoyances. While a patch is being issued, it's still TBD if it fixes everything. Even then, there's the transparency issue. A good amount of things went wrong here, but there are more things that went right.